You've done it. You've opened the app, looked at the balance, and felt that little drop in your stomach. So you closed it, told yourself you'd deal with it later. And if I asked you right now, today, to tell me the actual number you're supposed to hit by your age, you couldn't. Not really, not for sure. Here's what I want you to hear first. You are not the strange one. Most people your age can't tell you their number either. Nearly 1 in 3 Americans can't even guess what they'll have saved by the time they retire. So if you've been carrying this quiet little shame, like everyone else got the memo and you somehow missed the meeting, let it go. There was no meeting. There is a real number though, a number meant for someone exactly your age with exactly your income. And here's the part nobody tells you. It is almost certainly not the giant scary figure you've been hit over the head with for years. The firm that financial advisors actually lean on, the one whose research the professionals read every year, works it out in a completely different way. By the end of this, you'll know their method. You'll know roughly where you really stand, and you'll know what you can still do about it. Stay with me, because that last part, the part most channels skip, is the part that actually helps. And look, if that's why you're still here, do yourself a favor and hit subscribe. I make these so you walk away knowing your number instead of just feeling bad about it. I'd hate for you to miss the next one. So why does this feel so heavy right now? Because the fear is rational. In Allianz's 2025 study, 64% of Americans said they're more afraid of outliving their savings than they are of dying. Read that again. More afraid of running out of money than of death itself. And the share of retirees who actually feel financially prepared just hit an all-time low. BlackRock's 2025 retirement survey put it at 27%, down from 43% back in 2020. So in 5 years, the number of retirees who feel ready fell by more than a third. You're not anxious because you did something wrong. You're anxious because nobody ever handed you the right ruler. They handed you a yardstick built for somebody else's life and then acted surprised when you came up short. So here's where we're going, plainly. First, why that famous number is the wrong ruler and where it actually comes from, which is going to annoy you. Then, the method JP Morgan actually uses, the one written for professionals, not for headlines. Then, an honest look at where most people your age really land, so you can finally see yourself on the map. And then the levers, the moves you can still make, even at 60, even at 65. Don't drift off before the end. The what can I still do part is where the relief lives. Okay, let's say the number out loud, the one you've been beaten up with. $1.46 million. That's the figure plastered across every headline. The magic number Americans say they need to retire comfortably. And it keeps climbing. Last year it was 1.26 million. This year, 1.46. That's a $200,000 jump in a single year, more than 15%. Feel your stomach drop? Good. Now let me catch you. Because here's where that number actually comes from, and it changes everything. That 1.46 million is not a calculation. It's not a target. It's not what you actually need. It's a survey. Northwestern Mutual asked 4,375 Americans one question. How much do you think you'll need to retire comfortably? And reported the average answer. That's it. That's the famous number. It's the average of what anxious people guess they'll need, not what anyone computed. Not what your life actually costs. And this matters more than almost anything else I'll say today. That number has nothing to do with JP Morgan. Nothing. JP Morgan never said you need $1.46 million. Nobody serious did. It's a thermometer reading the country's anxiety, and somebody slapped a price tag on it and called it your goal. So why is one single national number the wrong ruler in the first place? Because a flat dollar wall ignores the three things that actually decide your number. What you earn, what guaranteed income you'll have coming in, and how spending really behaves once you stop working, which I promise you is not what the scary charts assume. Think about it for a second. A retiree who earned $45,000 a year and a retiree who earned $120,000 a year. There is no universe where those two people need the exact same pile of money. None. Their lives cost different amounts. Their social security checks are different. Their habits are different. And yet the magic number pretends they're identical. It hands the same impossible target to a school bus driver and a surgeon and tells them both they're behind. That's not a benchmark. That's a guilt machine. So if a flat number is the wrong tool, what's the right one? The people who manage real money for a living, the ones with actual fiduciary clients, don't use a magic number at all. Not one. Here's what they use instead. The source is the JP Morgan Asset Management Guide to Retirement. The 2026 edition came out on February 26 this year. It's the 14th one they've published, every year like clockwork. And here's the key thing about it. It wasn't written for clicks. It's primarily designed for financial advisors and plan professionals, the people managing other folks' retirements for a living. That's exactly why it's rigorous. Its audience would catch them if it wasn't. I read it so you don't have to. And to be clear, I have no connection to JP Morgan, and they have no idea I exist. This is just according to their published guide, the same document any advisor in the country can pull up. Now here's the method, and it's the whole game. Their checkpoint isn't X times your salary. That's the Fidelity model, the one that says 1 times your salary by 30, 3 times by 40, and so on. JP Morgan does something different. You find your target at the intersection of two things, your current age and your current household income, both at once, in actual dollars. So picture a grid. Your age runs down one side. Your income runs across the top. Where your row meets your column, there's a dollar figure. That's your checkpoint. Two people the same age, earning different money, get two different numbers. Finally, a ruler that fits the actual person standing in front of it. Let me make it concrete with the one example I can show you for certain. A household earning $200,000 a year at age 50 should have about $775,000 saved. That's a real checkpoint, straight out of the 2026 guide. And notice what we just did, because this is the skill. We didn't ask, what does everybody need? We found one specific row, age 50, and one specific column, $200,000 in income, and we read off the number where they cross. That's how you read your own. Find your age, find your income, read where they meet. Now, I'm only going to give you that one cell, and let me tell you why. The full grid has dozens of boxes, and I'm not going to stand here and invent yours. Guessing your exact number would be the same lie the magic number tells. What I can do is teach you to read the chart, so your box is the one you go find. The method is the gift, not a made-up figure. So what's running underneath that grid? What's it built on? JP Morgan lays it out, which is the honest part. They assume you're saving 10% of your income a year. They assume inflation runs about 2.5%. They assume you retire at 65. And they plan for a long life, a really long life, because running out is the thing that ruins everything. No magic, just stated, checkable math. And now the piece that genuinely changes your number, probably for the better. You've heard you need to replace 70% of your income in retirement, right? 70%. Everybody says it. JP Morgan doesn't use a flat 70. They use a range, anywhere from the 50% range all the way up past 90. And here's the twist nobody mentions. Lower earners need to replace more of their income. Higher earners can get by replacing less. Sit with that because it's the opposite of what you'd expect, and it's good news for a lot of you. If you earned a modest income your whole life, the scary universal number was overstating what you actually need to replace. Not by a little. The one-size-fits-all figure was, for millions of people, just wrong. And wrong in the exact direction that made them feel hopeless. So now you've got the real ruler, which raises the uncomfortable question, the one we've been circling. Where does the typical person your age actually land against it? Let's look. Honestly, no flinching. The typical household aged 65 to 74 has about $200,000 in retirement savings. That's from the Federal Reserve. And notice the word I'm using, typical, the median, not the average. There's a real reason I won't use the average here. The average for that same group is $609,230. Call it about $609,000. Sounds way better, doesn't it? It's also a lie about typical, because that average gets dragged way up by a handful of very wealthy households. One billionaire in the room makes the average person in the room a millionaire on paper. The median, the person right in the middle, that's you and your neighbors, and that's 200,000. Now let's do the math you're afraid of, and let's do it together so it doesn't get to sit in the dark scaring you. 200,000 against that 1.46 million magic number. And remember, that magic number is Northwestern Mutual's survey figure, not JP Morgan's. 200,000 is less than 1/7 of it. Less than 1/7 of the famous number. Breathe. Because here's what that gap actually means. It's enormous because the magic number is the wrong ruler. We already established that. It is not a measure of how badly you failed. It's a gap the typical American near retirement shares with you, side by side, millions deep. You are not standing alone at the bottom of a hole. You're standing in a crowd, and most of them are staring at the same wrong yardstick you were. I'll be straight with you about one piece, though, because you deserve it. Part of the fear is real, and it's about time. JP Morgan's guide says that for a healthy couple, both age 65, there's a 74% chance at least one of them lives to 90. So the money might need to stretch 25, even 30 years. That's a long road. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But here's my promise. The entire next stretch is exactly how you stretch what you have to cover that road. That's the part that helps. Stay with me, because this is where it turns. From how far behind am I to what can I actually do? And there's more here than you think. Lever 1. Spending does not stay flat. Every one of those terrifying "you'll run out" projections assumes you'll spend the same amount, adjusted up for inflation, every single year until you die. That is not how real retirement works. Real spending falls. There's a finding called the retirement spending smile, research by David Blanchett, showing that real, inflation-adjusted spending drops by roughly 26% by around age 84, before ticking up a little at the very end for healthcare. Think about your own parents, your aunts and uncles. The travel and the projects happen early. The quiet years cost less. So a huge share of those "your money won't last" warnings, built on a model that assumes you'll be spending like a 50-year-old at 85. You won't. The math was rigged pessimistic. Lever 2, and this one has a deadline, so listen up. If you're turning 60, 61, 62, or 63 this year, there's a special catch-up window most people have never heard of. Normally, someone over 50 can put an extra $8,000 into a workplace plan. But for those 4 years, 60 through 63, the law lets you put in $11,250 extra. That's a big jump. One catch, and it's an important one. This is optional for employers, so it only counts if your plan offers it. Call your HR or your plan administrator and ask, by name. And here's the urgency. The window is only those 4 years. The day you turn 64, it's gone. Drops right back to 8,000. 4 years, then the door closes. Lever 3. When you claim Social Security, claim at 62 and you lock yourself in at 70% of your full benefit, permanently, for the rest of your life. Wait until 70 and you get 124%. Run those against each other, and the age 70 check is roughly 77% bigger than the age 62 check, every single month, for life. For a lot of people, that is the single biggest guaranteed raise available to them anywhere, and most folks leave it on the table. Now, when to claim is a whole decision of its own, and I'm not going to cram it in here. Just know the lever exists, and it's enormous. Lever 4, the 4% rule. You've heard of it. Take out 4% of your savings the first year, adjust for inflation after that. People treat it like a law of physics. It isn't. Morningstar's 2026 number for a safe starting rate is actually 3.9%, not 4%, so a touch lower. But here's the part that'll surprise you. The man who invented the 4% rule says he built it for the worst case, the single unluckiest retiree in history, and that most people can safely take more. So the lesson isn't a magic percentage at all. The lesson is that your withdrawal rate is a dial you control, and it turns both directions. Hold that thought, because the both directions part comes back, and it matters more than you'd guess. Lever 5, and this one might change how you see your whole situation. Guaranteed income is hidden wealth. A pension, your Social Security, those aren't just checks that show up. They're assets. They work like a giant pile of money humming quietly in the background. And JP Morgan found something remarkable. Households that keep 60 to 80% of their wealth in guaranteed income actually spend 44% more than households with only 20 to 40% in guaranteed income, at the exact same total wealth. Same money, 44% more living. Why? Because guaranteed income takes your foot off the fear brake. When a check is coming no matter what, you stop white-knuckling every dollar. So if you've got a pension, or even just a solid Social Security check coming, you may have far more real security than your account balance is telling you, which raises a strange question. If guaranteed income unlocks all that, why do so many people who actually have enough still feel broke, still live scared? Let me clear out the last few beliefs that keep good people stuck. Quick gut check. 3 things people your age quietly believe that just aren't true. First, Social Security alone will be enough. It won't for almost anyone. Social Security replaces roughly 40% of an average worker's income. That's Social Security's own figure for a medium earner. 40, not 70, not 80, 40. It was built to be a floor, not the whole house. Second, I'll just work longer to make up the difference. Here's the cold one. Workers expect to retire at 65. The actual median retirement age is 62, and it's usually not a choice. It's a layoff, a health scare, a body that just says no. I'll work longer is a plan that life cancels for a lot of people. And by the way, have you already had to retire earlier than you wanted? Tell me in the comments what forced your hand, because somebody scrolling past needs to know they're not the only one. Third, it's too late after 60. You just heard 5 levers that say otherwise. Too late is a feeling. It is not a fact. And here's the flip side of that withdrawal dial I told you to hold on to. The one nobody warned you about. Plenty of retirees don't run out of money. They do the opposite. They're so scared of running out that they barely spend anything. They die with the money still sitting there, having denied themselves the trips, the dinners, the help they could have paid for, the exact life they spent 40 years saving for. That's the underspending trap, and it's the precise thing guaranteed income solves. So hear me. The goal was never just don't run out. The goal is to actually use what you have wisely while you're here to enjoy it. So let me tie this whole thing into one simple truth. You were never behind on the real number. You were measured against the wrong one. That's it. That's the whole story. The question was never, do I have $1.46 million? That question was a trap from the start. The real question, the only one that ever mattered, is this. For my age, for my income, for the guaranteed income I've got coming, where do I actually stand? And which levers do I still hold in my hand right now? So here's what to do this week. Not someday, this week. 1. Go find your checkpoint. Your age, your income, where they cross. 2. Count your guaranteed income, your Social Security and any pension, as the asset it truly is, because it's probably worth more than you think. And 3. Pick one lever from today and actually move on it. Ask HR about that catch-up. Run the numbers on waiting to claim. Just one. One real move beats another whole year of opening the app, feeling sick, and closing it again. That's the trade we made today. The famous number wasn't real. The real method is one you can read for yourself. You now know roughly where you stand, and you know what you can still do. If this took some weight off your chest, send it to someone. Your husband, your wife, the friend who keeps saying they're fine when you both know they're scared too. It's an easier conversation to start with a video than with a blank stare across the kitchen table. And if you want the deep dive on the single biggest lever in here, when to actually claim Social Security, 62 versus 67 versus 70, and what it costs you to get it wrong, that one's coming next. I'll see you there. You've got more room to move than they ever told you.